Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, today has met with political party leaders, and the commission is insisting that it will not jettison the use of BVAS, the bimodal accreditation device the commission has planned to use for the election. The commission also released the latest voter figures in Nigeria, some of which I will be showing you later on the program, the breakdown of how many people will be eligible to vote in the 2023 election. The commission released a timetable for the Kogi State governorship election, Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa State governorship election, and the timeline released by the commission, which were reported yesterday. The commission decided to conduct the 3 governorship elections on Saturday, the 11th day of November 2023, and the umpire said that the party primaries for these 3 elections will commence on the 27th of March 2003, where April 17 will be the end of the primaries. So let's look at the tenure of incumbent governor of Imo State ends on the 14th of January. The tenure of the governor of Kogi State, Yaya Bello, ends on the 26th of January, while that of Bayelsa State governor ends on the 13th of February 2024. And so these elections will come before the end of the tenure. This is part of the plans INEC has. But tonight we're focusing on the 2023 election and some of the controversies. There are controversies around the rumors, so stories around the possible sack of the INEC chair, that the BVAS may not be used. Is there any of this true at all? Let's take a listen to the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu.
The commission deployed thousands of diligent staff for the CVR exercise, and the vast majority of them discharged their duties conscientiously. Unfortunately, a few of them did not. The fictitious registrations were carried out by some of our registration officers involved in the field exercise and could easily be traced. Each registration machine is operated using an access code tied to a dedicated email assigned to a staff. There is therefore an audit trail that gives the total number of persons registered by each official involved in the registration exercise. In some cases, some of them made as many as 40 attempts or more to register one fake voter, and yet were able to detect the shenanigans. As a result, the Commission has so far identified 23 registration officers involved in this unethical conduct, and disciplinary action against this staff has commenced. We shall continue to protect the integrity of our voters' register. It is pivotal to credible elections. It is also a national asset and easily the largest database of citizens in Africa and one of the largest in the world.
That's the INEC chairman there, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. Let's get straight to it. We have our friend, Mr. Festus Okoye, who is the INEC National Commissioner in charge of voter education and publicity. He's here. There's a lot of questions that he's always answering, and he's here. And I'm very sure that you're up to the task tonight too, because there are so many stories out there. And I'd like you to tackle them one after the other. Let's begin. Did you hear that there are plans to remove INEC chairman?
Well, we heard about it the way other Nigerians have about it. We read about it the way other Nigerians read about it. And since we heard about it, since we read about it, we've been focused on our work because the 2023 election is already upon us, and we really don't have time to waste. So we are focused on the conduct of the 2023 general election.
So the reason I'm asking this question, I'm not the one that is... I don't devote my mind to rumors because I'm a news, I work within the news sector. So what we put out there is fact and the truth. But what I've come to realize in politics is that what becomes a rumor sometimes becomes a story. A lot of the time, this happens in Nigeria's politics. So when you hear these kind of things happening, there have been times in this country that we have heard that elections are going to be postponed. Even INEC was not aware that election was going to be postponed, and elections were postponed eventually. And so when these kind of stories come up, perhaps some people have described them as a propped up PR stunt to give a feeler of what could happen. And I'd like to ask, is there any pressure on INEC in the delivery of his job?
Yes, there's pressure on the commission. There's
political pressure?
No. There's pressure from the Nigerian people for this commission to deliver on its mandate. There's pressure from the Nigerian people on the commission to conduct free, fair, transparent, and inclusive election. So we're under pressure from the Nigerian people, and that's the only pressure I know about. Let me make this point. The position of the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission is a very, very serious position, and it is a constitutionally protected position. Now, the process for the appointment of the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission is a very, very rigorous process. First, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria makes a nomination, which goes to the Council of States. Thereafter, it goes to the National Assembly for purposes of confirmation before it comes back to the President, who makes the appointment. Now, the process and the procedure and the mechanisms for the removal of a chairman of an electoral management body is also a very, very rigorous process. First, there must be an allegation, and that allegation must conform to the provisions of the Constitution. Thereafter, that allegation will be made to the President. The President will now approach the National Assembly, asking the National Assembly, the Senate in this instance, to remove the chairman of the electoral management body for infraction of the provisions of the Constitution. That is one. The second thing I want to put on the table is that Section 25 of the Electoral Act makes the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission the returning officer for the presidential election. And Section 25 names the chief electoral commissioner for the Federation, specifically in Section 25. And it goes to Section 152 of the Electoral Act to define who the chief electoral commissioner is as the chairman of the commission. So without the chairman of the commission, you cannot make a return for a presidential election. The third issue I want to put on the table is that if you look at Section 132 subsection 2 and Section 178 subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you can see that the conduct of both the presidential and governorship elections are constitutionally circumscribed. And so any deviation, any attempt to move away from these dates prescribed by the Constitution creates a constitutional challenge, and we don't want to get to that particular direction.
There is no impossibility as far as the law is concerned to remove an INEC chairman.
What I'm saying is that the appointment of the chairman and the removal of the chairman and national commissioners are constitutionally
and before they can be removed, it has to go through the constitutional process.
Definitely.
So now the question is, and I'd like you to be truthful to Nigerians, because as an activist that you were and a lawyer you were before you got into INEC, a lot of people, your reputation was there in the public. But the question a lot of Nigerians would like you to answer tonight is there any political pressure on INEC?
I have told you that the only
pressure
no, just a minute. I've told you of the pressure I'm aware of. And it is based on that particular pressure that the chairman of the commission came back from a foreign trip on a Sunday, went to the office on Monday, and then on Tuesday, he went and addressed a big gathering of our staff who were being trained on the use of the beavers, and so on and so forth. And as you are aware, the chairman of the commission presided over a consultative meeting with political parties today. So we are under pressure to deliver. That is the only pressure I can attest to.
You are not aware of any political pressure to deliver on the election?
Well, for me, the pressure that the Nigerian people are applying on the chairman of the commission, on the Independent National Electoral Commission, on resident electoral commissioners, and all the staff of the commission can be akin to a political pressure. So that is the only pressure I'm aware of.
Okay. So now, I'd like to ask you this question, and this is more or less like a commitment that I'm trying to extract from you tonight. Is INEC telling Nigerians today and tonight that it will deliver an election that will reflect the will of the Nigerian people?
That has always been our commitment.
No, I'm asking you tonight. This is a new day and a new commitment that we're asking you as the people of this country. Is INEC going to deliver a free and fair election to the Nigerian people?
And my answer is the commission has never wavered. the commission has never deviated, and the commission has been working assiduously and courageously to deliver on its mandate.
All right, and I'll pick you up on another question. I'm asking this question because of some reasons. You know, internet does not, things never go away. They are there. And today, 10 years later, people will pull up some of these conversations, and it becomes part of our history, part of our progress as a people. If you rate from 1 to 10, how difficult or how easy is it to rig election today in this country?
I have never rigged an election before.
No, but you work. You've seen when elections have been rigged. You've seen election litigation, and you know the antics of politicians and how they rig elections. But you have told us that INEC will use technology.
Yes.
To defend the votes of Nigerians.
Yes.
And now we've been told of how difficult it is to rig election in today's election. I mean, in today's Nigeria. The question is, just how difficult is it to rig the election? How foolproof is it, the system that you have?
Look, the issue of rigging election is not the only electoral infraction that I know of within the electoral legal framework. Now, what this commission has been doing is that we keep on innovating, and we keep on being creative, and we keep on improving with every election. With every election, we learn valuable lessons, and we ask the question, what are those things we did so badly that we need to jettison and then recreate and do something anew? And then we also ask the question, what are those things we did but we didn't do so well that we have to improve upon, we have to upgrade? And then we ask the question, what are those things we did so well that we do not need to do any other thing? Those are the questions we ask. Now, if you look at the trajectory of our elections, you can see that at a certain period in this country, the smart card reader was the game changer. But after 2 electoral cycles, we felt that it was time for us to upgrade, for us to also add some new technologies into the electoral process. And then we introduced the BVAS. And the BVAS for us has been a game changer, has been a very, very useful tool in making sure that those who are engaged in identity theft do not near our polling units. So we are confident that with the measures we have put in place, that it will be difficult for people who buy up permanent voters' cards to get to the polling units. That too, it will be difficult for those engaged in identity theft to break into the cordon that has been erected by the BVAS and then vote in any election. And so for us, we are confident that we are putting in measures that will make it very difficult for people to go to the polling units and try to compromise the sanctity of the electoral process.
Now, we'll go into the details of the new figures that we have now and some of the things that were said, but give me an understanding of the highlight of today's meeting. What did the politicians tell you, and what was the response of INEC today?
Well, we have always been very upfront in relation to our relationship with the national chairmen and national secretaries of the various political parties. One, we gave them the figure of completed valid and invalid registrations, and they were satisfied with the explanations we offered. We also, as you heard the chairman say, we also told them that we have identified 23 of our staff who we believe engage in unethical conduct, and that disciplinary processes have started against some of these people. The third thing we did was that we also released the dates for the display of the voters' register for claims and objections. And we gave we told Nigerians that we are going to display the voters' register for claims and objections on the 12th day of November 2022, and it will go on up to the 25th day of November 2022. So let me use this medium, let me use this opportunity to appeal to Nigerians to assist the commission, look at the voters register that will be the preliminary voters register that will be displayed. Let Nigerians assist us and identify those who are not supposed to be on that particular register, so that we can make our register robust, so that we can engage in further cleanup of the voters register. So these are some of the issues that we on the table.
Two quick questions before we go into those figures.
Yes.
One is the permanent voter cards. The INEC chairman said in the US that Nigerians will be able to collect them from November.
Yes.
What exact date in November?
We are still committed to the November date, but as I informed you, the display of the voters register will commence on the 12th day of November and then end on the 25th day of November. So we are committed to the November date.
What date exactly?
I don't have a date. The chairman will announce the exact date at the appropriate time.
Why is it difficult for people to track their PVC on your portal, on your website?
I don't get what you mean by tracking it.
So, I mean, Nigerians, voters, registered voters should be able to track by putting the details of their permanent voter cards
Yes.
on your website. I mean, that should be an easy task. Before, when you want to register at a CVR, I mean, people were able to go to your website and able to find out the nearest voting points and all of that. But to track their permanent voter cards, whether it was ready or not, it's been difficult. It does not give any answer. These are some of the queries that people are raising, and they're being agitated as to maybe there are some things that are happening. You heard what the INEC chairman said, that there were attempts of people to steal identity theft.
No, there are three different issues involved here. If you are a registered voter, in other words, if you belong to the class of 84 million Nigerians that are already registered, you can track your data within in our database. Secondly, if you were one of those that registered with the commission during the continuous voters registration exercise between the 28th day of June 2021 and 14th day of January 2022, you can track where your permanent voters card is, and you will be in a position to collect it. But if you register between the 15th day of January 2022 and the 31st day of July 2022, the implication is that you are not yet a registered voter in the true sense of the word, because we have just finished the cleaning up of the voters register, which is still ongoing. So it's not possible for you to know where your permanent voters card is, because we are yet to print your permanent voters card, and we are yet to make these permanent voters cards available for the registrants.
So give us an understanding, if you can go through the figures now. Yes. I'd like my producer to put on some of the graphic designs that INEC released today on the latest figures that we have.
Yes.
And this will be some good news to the ears of the Nigerian youth and the young people. There are 7.2 million new voters, or 76.5% are young people between the age of 18 and 34. Give us an understanding of how many voters do we have altogether? How many are you able to weed out now?
Well, as at today, after we completed the verification that we have done, as at today, we have a total of 9,518,188. But the initial figure we gave in relation to completed registrations was 12,298,944. Now, out of this number, those invalid registrants stood at 2,780,756, representing 22.6% of the registered voters. Now, if you add this particular figure to the already existing 84 million registered voters in Nigeria, you now have a total registered figure of 93,522,272. But there's a possibility that this figure may still go down after we've complete the display of the voters register, of the preliminary voters register for claims and objections, which, as I pointed out, will begin on the 12th day of November 2022.
So this is where we are today.
That's where we are.
So since the beavers can be preloaded, because the data that goes into the beavers is loaded and is offline. It could be offline, it could be online. Is there a possibility of any manipulation? And what is INEC doing about that?
There's no possibility. This is because the beavers will contain only the data of persons registered in a particular polling unit. So no beavers will have data for 2 polling units. It will only have data for only 1 polling unit. Secondly, even if you do what you call a preloading, the beavers must still authenticate your fingerprints, and also authenticate your facials before you can be registered. This is because the use of the BVAS is not an option. It is a mandatory provision of the law.
And you will use it.
And no, it's not as if, it's not optional. It's not discretionary.
That is the only thing that you have to use right now.
That is the only thing, because Section 47, subsection 2 of the Electoral Act makes it mandatory. Not only does it make it mandatory, it also says that if there's overvoting in any polling unit, that the determination of overvoting will be done based on the number of accredited voters. And you can only accredit with the BVAS. So it is final, it's conclusive, and there's no going back.
Before I allow you go, Mr. Okoye, just quickly, why did you decide to do the 3 elections on one day? Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi, why?
It's for convenience. We believe that we can cluster those elections run within a particular trajectory. And we believe that we can cluster the 3 of them together and conduct the 3 of them together. Because if you look at the timelines when their tenure will expire, one will expire on the 14th day of January, another one will expire on the 26th day of January, the other one on the 13th day of February. So why go and conduct one on the 14th, then on the 26th you go back, then on the 13th of February you go back. So we believe that we can cluster the 3 of them together and run them robustly and run them efficiently and professionally.
Thank you so much, Mr. Festus Okoye. I mean, very insightful conversation there about the processes and the hopes. Nigerians are very much aware. This election is going to be different from any election. I can feel it. I know it. And I wish you the very best. You people are going to be doing a very great job and a great service to the nation. And I don't envy your work right now, but I wish you the very best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Okoye, for your time tonight.